The UX field has been going through a tough time since the start of the latest financial decline. Smile, because this happens to everyone, and it's really frustrating. Don't be lazy, just go learn about it. Just allow them to do their jobs and don't treat them like they don't belong in there. And make use of their knowledge and expertise. They are there to help. Just let them do their jobs, please. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Serap. I'm a user experience researcher and I recently quit my job. In this video, I'm going to talk about the current state of UX, specifically user experience research. Hi, Voice of Serap here. This video ended up being too long, so I decided to turn it into a two-part series. In this video, I'll discuss the external factors contributing to the perception that UX is not business critical. In the following video, I'll talk about how UX practitioners, specifically UX researchers, are also responsible for not delivering business value. The UX field has been going through a tough time since the start of the latest financial decline. A lot of industries laid off millions of people, and tech industry was not immune to that. The majority of the jobs that were lost are in HR and recruiting. The UX field has been impacted by the layoffs as well. Within the tech industry, certain companies laid off UXers more than other disciplines. It might make sense to cut costs. We all know that reducing the user experience headcount will have a negative impact in the long run. Not because the product teams don't know how to produce useful and usable products, but their effectiveness will be limited. The people who are doing the work that a UX professional can do don't have the expertise the UX professionals have. A designer can design better products than a random person who doesn't have expertise in that field. A UX researcher can do much better research than, say, a product manager. Usually PMs, especially the junior ones, focus on the features that they are working on and their ideas and ask questions that validate their own thinking or own idea, and that introduces confirmation bias because they are looking for answers that support their hypothesis. Whereas a user experience researcher can go and do research in a much efficient and bias-free way. A lot of PMs I see ask leading questions that basically doesn't allow for customer to tell them what they think. They also ask a lot of yes/no questions, which doesn't produce in-depth answers. If you think about it, with a user experience researcher, you actually get more bang with your buck because they don't have time to sit down and analyze these results and share it widely. When you don't share the results widely, only that PM benefits from it. A user experience researcher can talk to many more customers, many more users, and they can analyze the data and share it with the organization, and other teams might benefit from it too because the data they collect doesn't specifically focus on a single feature, but overall experience and understanding of the customer and the user. Not having UX as a part of an organization will eventually cause missing opportunities. There is this quote I often think about that comes from a large-scale survey that I've done that had an open-ended question. Someone wrote, "UX matters even to hardcore data people." Our customers were engineers, highly technical, highly skilled, and even they didn't have patience for things that are difficult to use. Not because they couldn't figure out how to use it, it would just take them longer to get something done. So they were telling me that they care about usability. So if your products are not easy to learn, if they are not easy to navigate, if they are not easy to understand and on board, then people will choose your competitors if they are doing better in these fields. You want to make sure that they can come in and immediately start using your product without running into a lot of issues. In order to understand these and study these, you need a UX researcher and you need UX designers to design products that conform to design principles. Okay, so now that we talked about what not having UX could lead to, let's talk about the problems that the UX field is facing right now. Okay, I think one of the main issues here, especially for user experience research, is the lack of understanding of this discipline's function. Even though the organizations have had UX research for decades now, there are still people at a higher level, at senior leadership level, who don't understand what a user experience research is. And this causes a lot of issues. So various tech companies employ UX researchers, but they don't understand their function in a way that will have them integrate the researchers and the designers into the team properly. UX needs to be integrated into product and service development. It is mind-boggling to me that UX professionals are paid really good salaries, yet the organizations who pay them this money are not taking full advantage of their skills. The organizations don't set the UX teams up for success. Just allow them to do their jobs and don't treat them like they don't belong in there. So I want to walk through a few challenging scenarios for user experience research. So one is that people see user experience research as a thing that they need to put a check mark next to. So they do it just to say that they've done it. This might happen when the leadership requires a team to be doing research, even if that team at that time may not need research. So that's one of the things. And related to that, they come to UX researchers at the very last minute when they've already made all the decisions, have already been building the product, and then they come to them at the last minute saying, oh, we need some customer data to validate our thoughts or our ideas or hypotheses, and we need the results by Friday. And they came to you on a Tuesday. This is extremely common. It happens a lot. I think any of the UX researchers watching this will smile because this happens to everyone and it's really frustrating. Are there things that UX researchers can do fast? Absolutely. But if you involve the UX research in the whole process from the beginning, then they can take time and they can do the things ahead of time and give you the results when you need them. But if you don't tell them anything and then just come up with some idea and say, oh, let's do UX research on this, we've already built everything, we're not going to change anything, well, we might change something, but we need the data by X date for that data to be useful to us. And then you give the person 2-3 days. And recruiting can be a huge challenge depending on what kind of research you're doing, who your target audience is. That creates conflict because then UX researcher says, I'm sorry, I can't do that research. And then the product side thinks, oh, UX research is too slow. So we talked about involving UX late, both in terms of timeline and also for having any impact because they've already made all the big decisions and there's not much that can be changed at that last minute. Another thing is that they see UX research solely for validating ideas, and that is problematic because that's not the purpose of UX research. There might be some validation that might be needed, but oftentimes what I see is PMs or engineers already have decided on something. Maybe they need to convince a leader and then they want the researcher to go and validate their own hypotheses. You shouldn't be wasting their time on validating ideas unless it is necessary. Validation can be valuable at times, but not, again, to validate every idea that a product manager and an engineer thinks. Another problem that we see using UX research only for usability evaluation or design evaluation, and designers fall into this trap as well. Testing usability is important, but that is not the only thing that a user experience researcher should be doing. And designers, I think, can be taught how to do research, and a lot of them already know, but they can get better at it so they can test their own designs. And also, heuristic evaluation is a wonderful method that can be used to evaluate the designs. I'm not going to talk about what heuristic evaluation is, but I might add a link in the description for those of you who might be curious. Okay, the next three are really important and maybe the most frustrating challenges. One is that organizational structure is not hospitable to a UX field, UX team. What does that mean? It means that the leaders who are in charge of the business and the organizational structure either don't care about UX, or because they don't understand what the function is, they don't position the group in the right place in the organization. I experienced this in my last job. It was mind-boggling to me that they just didn't think about UX. When there were reorganizations, they did not think what would be the best place for the UX organization to be reporting to. When I gave my notice, the VP that I was reporting to had nothing to do with the products that my team was working on. And you can imagine how detrimental that is for the people's careers and their advancements, because your manager doesn't care about the work that you do. And if you're a senior leader, a senior VP, and if your organization includes the UX discipline, don't be lazy. Just go learn about it and understand what they do and make use of their knowledge and expertise. They are there to help. Just let them do their jobs, please. Another thing related to that is then the UX teams may not get the resources that they need, even though they are increasingly asked to do more work. And then finally, they are being left out of important strategy discussions and decision-making meetings. And then they are being criticized for not having the context of some of the decisions that they've made and not being on board. But they were never given the chance to understand what's going on. They were never given the chance to contribute to those decisions about the business. In one of my previous videos, I talked about how the CEO of our business unit talked about UX being outdated. UX team, I'm not even talking about the whole team, our director, was not part of those conversations. The CEO never thought, well, I am criticizing the UX of this product. Why don't I talk to the UX director of this team? When you are faced with these kind of challenges, it really wears on you and it feels like it's an uphill battle. But are these problems only because of the stakeholders, the business leaders, basically others? No, of course not. We, as UX professionals, have also things to blame. And it is important to understand that. Lack of understanding, lack of insight, and some other things that are problematic in the UX field and influences how UX field is perceived in general by others and contributes to that dumpster fire that we have been in. Voice of Serap here again. I will continue with explaining what we, the UX professionals, have been doing wrong. See you next week. Bye.